Hey, it's Rhonda Lee, barefoot artist, creator of Spirit Miss Smokeless Smudge, Reiki Master, Laughter Yoga Leader, artist, educator. That's me right here. I am going to share with you a true story of the Christmas that I heard an angel sing. And yes, I had a front row seat for that. I was going to put this in my blog newsletter that goes out to all of those that subscribe to my blog, which you can do below if you're interested. And I was telling a friend that I was going to do that and revive this story after it being hidden for many, many years. And I felt like sharing it this year. And she said, no, you can't just put the story out there like that. You have to tell it. You have to tell that story. I want you to do a video. So I am doing a video of me telling the story. The true story of the time I heard an angel sing at Christmas with a front row seat. Absolutely. So, let me lay the background work for my story. I used to be a special ed teacher, which most of my followers know. I did that for many years and loved it, loved my students, my children. They were my kids so much. That had I not gotten very sick and unhealthy, I'd still be there today. But anyway, at one point, actually the majority of my career, I taught low incidence populations, and that just, it meant my students had very severe disabilities, and they keep changing the terminology, and I'm not up to speed with all that, but a lot of my children, some of them were non-ambulatory, which meant they did not walk or they would be in wheelchairs. All of them were non-verbal, meaning they didn't have conversational type skills. They would still verbalize. And of course, I knew them. I worked with them all day, took care of them all day, so I would understand what their verbalizations would mean. And so basically we worked on really hardcore daily living skills is what I did. We learned to feed ourselves and did fine motor skills and gross motor skills, and just basic self-care type things. And that's what I did with that population. So that's the backstory. Anyway, there was a young gentleman that was in my class, and he was 12 years old, and his name was Mason. Now, I, of course, have changed his name for this story. Anyway, Mason was, he was identified on the autism spectrum. He was also blind, and he had several other severe disabilities that he dealt with on a daily basis. And he was amazing too, let me tell you. He was amazing. And Mason loved music, and he loved Christmas music best of all. And I was a big believer of celebrating everything, and I still am. So in my classroom back in the day, every event that came up, I did a big celebration for the children. Thanksgiving, you can't do these types of things anymore, but Thanksgiving, I would cook the entire meal, my assistants, and I had 3 assistants, with 7 kids and 3 assistants. That's how, one-on-one, our work was. We would make the Thanksgiving spread like you would not believe, and I would have my kids eat all day. What we did for that day was I could make anything. I mean, it was all the daily skills that we were working on anyway. We were still learning to feed ourselves. We're still learning all this self-care. So fit right in with my curriculum, and I would just make a big to-do out of it. And one reason why I did all of this is the majority of my students in that area, they lived in absolute poverty. Not all of them, but a great majority of them did. And so, they a lot of times didn't get to do these things that everyone else was doing or whatever. And maybe sometimes they noticed, and maybe sometimes they didn't. But when they were with me, we did it, and we did it big. Everything, we did it all. And so I would take my kids to be a part of every school activity. We would show up for as long as they could stand it. Sometimes it would be too much for them. Most of the time, not. But we would show up for every single activity at the school. So in that school, we had a tradition of before we got out for Christmas, they would for Christmas break, because we take Christmas break here. They would have a great big sing along and show of sorts in the gymnasium. They didn't have an auditorium, there's a gymnasium, and so they'd bring all the chairs in. And my class, we always sat in the back. Because it was easy if my students needed to get in or out. If they got overstimulated or they didn't want to sit through it, one of my assistants would take them out. So we had our special little place in the back. We're still included with everybody. The fifth graders were sitting right like on our feet in the front down there. So we were a part of everything, but just where we had easy access if we needed to get out. Plus our buses ran a little earlier too, if we needed to get away. So my kids and I'm like, well, we always take them in every single year, and they love it. They always love the music. I played music for them all day long. We did a lot of singing and dancing in my class. A lot of singing and dancing, and it made us happy. And I wanted my children to always feel safe and happy when they were with me. So we did a lot of things that made them happy as much as I possibly could. So we're sitting in the back, and the whole auditorium is filled with the entire school, and it is chaos. Especially the fifth graders are like leapfrogging in. I mean, they're crazy, crazy. They're everywhere, and they're having a good time, and everybody is wired because we're getting out for winter break and all of that. So the kids are all like, "Wow! Yay!" So they did the little program, and we always sang all kinds of songs as a school together. Fantastic music director, and she included everybody. And so when it came to the very last song of the day, and then we were going to file out, everything was hushed. And the principal started off, and they sang Silent Night, for those of you that are familiar with it. And when they started, my sweet Mason immediately scooted up to the edge of his seat. His sightless eyes were radiant. It is as if he was seeing the most beautiful scene we could ever imagine. The joy that was in his face was unbelievable. And all of us are surrounded him, just kind of stopped everything, because we've been bebopping around and having a good time, and then all of a sudden, this stillness, and Mason scoots up to the edge of his seat. And they started off low, and Mason holds one ear, and he starts to rock and sing. And he didn't sing the words, he sang his words. And they were the most beautiful words I had ever heard. So Mason started singing, "Wee, wee, wee, wee. Wee, 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 wee." And he just did all of Silent Night like that. And it was the most beautiful, angelic thing I have ever seen in my life. Chaos everywhere, and this peaceful calm from this beautiful babe that truly did connect with angels, who truly was an angel. In that moment of complete bliss and joy, unlike anything I have ever seen in my entire life. So, yes, I did hear the angels sing that Christmas. I had a front row seat. Season's greetings. Merry Christmas. I love you all.